What's going on, guys? Welcome to Think Outside the Pylons. Today, I am joined with one of my dearest friends, Dylan Gull. He is 3 hours behind me in Vancouver. So, how you doing today, Dylan?
I'm hot as hell, man. It is like 34 degrees here right
I
now.
forgot you guys don't have AC, do you?
Bro, we got these fans cooking right now.
I I'm in my
I
room.
got one right here.
I'm in my room in sweatpants, and I'm freezing because the AC here is like set at like 15 degrees. So, well,
Yeah.
70 in Fahrenheit. But yeah, it's absolutely freezing here. So that's actually really funny.
Dude, you probably have way hotter weather in Florida, man.
Oh my
I
God.
mean, I'm just guessing.
Oh my, the humidity is absolutely crazy. Like
Probably.
they're lucky that like they walk outside. I can imagine after they leave the barber shop in the NBA, everything they do, they're just
Yeah.
absolutely ruined.
Yeah, for
But
real.
but that being said, first I want your thoughts. How has the season gone in your opinion with everything with COVID, and how do you think the NBA is done with the entire bubble in Orlando and at Disney?
That's a good question, actually. I thought about this because obviously, with the current state of the world, you have to start planning your business far in advance. And, the NBA, like any business, has to make these types of strategic moves. I think the bubble idea is just phenomenal. The execution that Adam Silver and everybody in the executive team went through to make it happen, it just was just perfect. I mean, like I'm sure you've watched a couple of the early games where it was a little bit awkward because there was
Mm-hmm.
no fan noise, and then they kind of tweaked everything, they adjusted things, and it looks like indistinguishable from a regular NBA game. So I really do think that the bubble idea could go on further into the future.
And I really like the sideline camera too. I think that's something
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah,
should
yeah,
really appreciate because once a season is normal again, we're never gonna get that option. Like
yeah.
like like front row seats, just get rid of them. Like I just want this camera angle that makes me
You
feel
know,
like I'm in the game.
that camera angle was experimented with on a couple All-Star games years and years ago. I think like 2003 or early 2000s.
Really?
And then people had these types of like, oh my God, this camera angle is amazing. Why don't we have this? But what you just said, like the front row seats, they get so much more revenue from that.
I
But now that
know.
we have that, so it's so much, it's like a great addition to the game, I
What
think.
what I think would be cool too is kind of if they did like the Madden look too, if they did like the camera that's on the rope and they do the actual 2K look from like
Oh
behind.
man.
I think that would be like a great
Yeah.
addition. That would be really cool because that would get
Yeah.
all the 2K players just obsessed with the NBA even more.
You know what's interesting about the bubble idea? Now that you mention it, it's like you have total creative autonomy over how you want to record the games.
Hmm.
You can have like the most intricate, like immediate camera angles and
Hmm.
sounds in the game, like more than we ever had before. Like even the sideline camera, like you said, is a good example.
And
So
that's what I was thinking before this even all started was like, how is it going to be like players can hear each other? How are the meetings going to be and everything like that? It's going to be so awkward that coaches can hear each other like game planning, right?
absolutely,
It's a
man.
5-on-5 scrimmage pretty much. So it's just like the
You know
weird.
what's funny? Looking back already about how far the bubble is, how many games have been played in the bubble and like how people were kind of worried about the intensity level. They were saying like, oh, well, there's no fans. So there's not going to be as much like emotion. I'm telling you, man, anybody that's played basketball in a 5-on-5 situation knows that those guys are going to be like as intense
Yeah.
as they would be if there's like thousands of fans. So like, I honestly think the bubble has been like just a great execution by the NBA.
And it's gonna help now too with now they're gonna have family and friends are gonna be there at least for
Yeah.
at least a little bit. That will help a bit. I think it will
Yeah.
get those players that maybe don't feel 100%. It's gonna get that little boost that they actually will have now too. Like I mean, I know Dame Lillard has not cared if there's no fans. He has gone off the entire time.
It's really interesting, like how many NBA players you think really miss the fans? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like there's probably some that like really like have to have the fan energy there, right? But there's a lot of players, I guarantee you, that don't miss the fans at all, bro.
Yeah, and
Like
that's it. That's
that's
it.
a
Like a
fact.
lot of sports are talking about, like they're talking about in the NFL now. How is it going to be with no fans? Like we're gonna be able to hear the hits better, the like
Yeah.
everything on field we're gonna hear better. And then of course, I mean, I know you probably don't watch golf, but they had the championship, and
Yep.
just I think it was Justin Day said that like half the people that were on like the top 72 list wouldn't even be close if there were 200,000 fans there, just
That
because of
is interesting.
like the
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's gonna help a lot of the rookies, I think, going into the future in other sports, because they're not gonna have the pressure of the fans behind them, but it's also gonna help a lot of the people that never really wanted the fans around them, like the people that get such like scrutiny during the game, right? Like they
Oh,
don't have
totally,
that right
man.
now.
It's like the home and away advantage is just totally gone.
I know, it's
You know,
amazing.
it's really an interesting situation and how the games haven't suffered at all.
No.
The entertainment value of these games are just as high as they've ever been, but it's
Yeah.
still so different,
And, and that's what I'm looking at, is like I love the seeding piece. Seeding doesn't mean anything anymore, right? 1 and 8
Yeah.
doesn't mean home court advantage means nothing right now, which is
And
so cool.
it's so funny because like some of the best teams in the NBA are just incredible at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like the Warriors over the last several seasons. I mean, you were in Oracle Arena, you couldn't play there in the third
No.
quarter. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if the Warriors were down at halftime, that place was just so loud. It was impossible to play, and they would just run teams out of the gym because their fans were so engaged.
Clay and Steph would just catch that. Like, look at, I mean, was it Clay that hit in the third point, or in the third quarter? How many points did he score in one third quarter? He broke the
Oh, it was
record.
like 37 or
Yeah,
something
and it
like
was just
that.
like he just went off, right? And it's just like it shows when they came out. It's just like that's what they did there, was they like the
Yeah.
third and fourth quarter, they just absolutely dominated because of the fans behind them.
It just makes it seem worse than it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when you're losing by like 6, it feels like you're losing by like 15.
But
That's really the difference.
and I agree, I think it also helps like teams like the Magic, that like if you
Yeah.
ever go to a Magic game, because I've been to a few, they don't have many home fans. Truly, it's a bunch of tourists that come, especially during the Lakers, during all these other teams that come here, and they're not cheering for the Magic, they're cheering for the other team most of the time. So I think it really helps them because they never really have a home court advantage regardless. Like it seems
Right.
that way, that they're just playing and it's just 5-on-5. And I think it helps teams like that get the opportunity to be better than what they can show.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really speak on any NBA player that you're never gonna know what their true opinions are, right? You're never gonna no NBA player is gonna say, yeah, I kind of don't like the fans there,
Yeah.
right? But guaranteed, there are some players that just want to play ball and just forget the fans, bro. They don't want the external influences. They want to get coached. They want the plays. They want to perform, and then they want to go home. So like those players, I really think are gonna have the most benefit from the bubble.
I completely agree. So that being said, I'm going to jump into some of the stuff like that. With that, what is a matchup that you actually want to see in this playoffs? It doesn't matter if it's a player, it doesn't matter if it's like a coach versus a coach or a team. What was a matchup you're really excited to see?
Matchup I'm really excited to see.
Or want to
Man,
see?
there's so many. I got to be honest, like not having basketball for so long, you kind of want to watch all of them. But I think the one matchup I really want to see right now in the first round is Dallas versus the Clippers, because Dallas played really well. Even though they lost a few, they played really well. Luka, KP, they both played incredibly well. I think they're gelling at the right time, even though they're a young team. But I'm telling you, like, we all know the Clippers, in terms of, this, it's like the energy of the team. It's like, okay, they're not going to fail. Like everybody knew that before going into the season. It's like the Clippers are for real. They're not going to fail. They got the coaching, the talent. But I think that the Mavs could challenge them. I really do, because the thing with Luka is that he is like an all-time talent. I've never seen anything like him.
He just enjoys the game. It doesn't matter who he's going against. He just loves playing the sport, and he just goes off.
I've never seen anybody be so talented at the game of basketball. Like I really sincerely mean that. Like out of all the NBA players I've ever watched, he's probably the most talented player I've ever seen. And I think that where he's like, his stats in the bubble were just incredible, like they always are. And I just wonder how it's going to carry over in the playoffs against like, one of the best defensive teams in the league, especially from the guard position.
And I really do. I agree with you. I have the Mavs as a dark horse that I truly would love to see them in the finals. They're one of those teams that,
I really hope that they get out of the first. If they beat the Clippers in the first round, I think that would be one of the big upsets of all time.
And I think that people will be surprised, but if this happens and that they win it and we look back on history and we're surprised in the moment, in 3-4 years, I don't think we'd be surprised. Because in
You
three,
think
four
so?
years, 3-4
Yeah.
years, this Mavs team is gonna get better and better, and they're
Oh,
just gonna get stronger.
absolutely.
Like this team
Absolutely.
is just so young, and they're like, I mean, KP is angry. Like he put the heart and soul into New York for how many years, and they just pass him away.
New
Okay,
York.
you're
Yeah,
just trash. Just
you
go away.
just saying the words New York just hilarious, man. You know that
But it's just like
that
it's just they
franchise.
just cast him away. But the one that I'm excited to see that I think is going to eventually happen is I'm
Mm.
excited to see how Brad Stevens coaches his Celtics against the Bucks.
Yeah,
That's something that I really want to see because Brad Stevens, I know, just coming out of like a college mentality coach, just like Billy Donovan, really just like all about there is no positions with us. We're just going to play sound defense. We're going to
mm.
score points and we're just going to shut people down. And I really want to see how he can do that against Milwaukee in a 7-game series. The way I look at it, it's just like when they go up against Milwaukee, they have to shut down Giannis. How are you going to do that? And when that happens, I mean, how many people are going to be open? You have Chris Middleton. He's not gonna mess up. They have shooters in the corner. So what are you going to do to truly shut down the Bucks? And how are you going to approach that?
Yeah, that's a good take. I think that where I'm coming at it is like the opposite end was just how will Milwaukee change things because we know last year in the playoffs, I mean, it's like exposed now basically that Giannis has these like major deficiencies in his game,
Mm-hmm.
especially going downhill, you know, especially like when the Raptors played them in the the Eastern Conference Finals, it was just like, wow, they made some adjustments and obviously the players have to go out and play, but the game plan just was like clear as day. It
Yeah.
was working. So it's funny. Did you say Brad Stevens? How are they going to, coach? Hypothetically, if Boston and Milwaukee do get to that situation, I mean, I really think I'm questioning Milwaukee more
Mm-hmm.
than Boston. I'm thinking, okay, Brad Stevens, he knows what the game plan is. He knows that to stop Giannis, you really have to build a wall. I think that from Milwaukee's perspective, first of all, let's just establish Milwaukee's like one of the best teams of all time.
Yeah.
It's insanely they're insanely dominant.
Yeah.
I think they have like one of the highest win rate, not win rates, but they've won by the most point margins I
Yeah.
think in
Point
NBA
margin.
history,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Something like
So
that.
so we understand that like their dominance is clear. It's just in the playoffs, things aren't that easy. You know, I think that people underestimate, especially in a 7-game series, how much exposure you see from the other team, right? No matter like Giannis is gonna play well, but if Giannis is doing the same thing like constantly all the time, which is like even great players, they do the same things all the
Mm-hmm.
time. They just do it at an extremely high level and it's hard to combat. So like I'm interested to see how Mike Budenholzer, the Bucks head
Yep.
coach, adjusts, and also how Brad Stevens adjusts. I think it's a really good matchup,
And
actually.
that's the thing about Budenholzer. He comes from Greg Popovich, right? He was a Spurs assistant for a very long time,
Yeah,
and he understands the game really well too, right? He learned in one of the best places ever, right? So
yeah,
they have a very similar mentality. I just think Brad Stevens is just that he's like the Mike Shanahan of the NBA. He just has that everything is stuck in his mind, and he's so
yeah.
smart, and people don't realize it until you're down
Yeah.
by 20 in the fourth quarter.
He makes great adjustments. I mean, I think Boston as a team, the culture is what it is. Before Brad Stevens, before the team, before the actual players, the culture of the Celtics really pervades the whole game. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they are gonna play well. They're gonna play together. Like Brad Stevens aside, that's how they're gonna play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's funny looking back at about Kyrie and how things like kind of fell apart. I think it was so obvious that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, especially, they needed that usage rate to go up for them to develop. And I'm telling you, I'm really interested to see how Jason Tatum plays
Yeah.
personally, because his scoring, I mean, his ability has just gone through the roof this year. You watch him play, he just looks more comfortable. He looks like he's just like handling himself out there now.
I completely agree with that too. So another one I had, I don't think this is gonna happen just because the way seating and everything is done. I want to see Dame play the Clippers. I I want to see him get a chance to play the Clippers
Oh
again.
man, that'd be crazy.
I mean,
That'd
if
be
that happened, if
crazy.
the stars align, because I think he like wants to stare them in the eyes and shoot from half court 15 times a game
The
and just
conference finals between Portland and Clippers, that would probably be one for the ages.
it
That
would
would be one
be.
for
And
the
I think that would
ages.
be the true like one player versus a team. Not shutting down McCollum, not shutting down Nurkic. Like they do like the Blazers are a great team. I truly, but I just see Dame taking over that series just like LeBron did when he was with Cleveland before he won his championship. And like I just see him looking them in the eye say, I'm going to beat you by myself.
Dame's an interesting case because like there's only so many players that can really like impose themselves on the other team. And I think that he just proved within the last several games that, yeah, I mean, he's done it throughout his career, but like in this circumstance where things were really stacked again, I mean, it's probably the most clutch performance I've ever seen, like by Lillard.
Hmm.
He had some incredible scoring performances. I mean, he's had, streaks where he's shot like, like 3, 4, 40-point games in a row, like just insane numbers he's putting up.
It's
But I think
incredible.
that, yeah, his mentality. See that's a good comparison because Lillard, his confidence is just unshakable, man, and that kind of is infectious when
Yeah.
you see that he won't back down. The problem is like going back to what I was saying earlier with Giannis and the Bucks and how are they going to adjust? It's like Giannis. I don't want to say that he has like a lack of confidence. That's way too much of a stretch,
Yeah.
but I think that his
He is
demeanor
doubt.
his demeanor is not like Lillard's.
Yeah.
His demeanor is like he's big. He's obviously like a warrior out there. But you saw the other day when he got really emotional and he just like headbutted Mo Wagner, right? Like what was that? Like you're not on Mo Wagner's level. You're Giannis. You don't need to headbutt him.
No, you don't need to get
So
suspended for a game for something so stupid.
yeah. So like I don't know if Portland's gonna be able to beat the Lakers. That's the thing.
I know, and that's the issue is like as a team, like the Lakers are gonna take over, but I could just see Dame having
Maybe.
if the Portland Trailblazers make it to the finals, Dame will have the greatest playoffs in NBA history.
Oh, he has to. There's no
And
way. They're
there,
not gonna first of all, they're not gonna stop Dame from shooting, man.
no,
They're not gonna stop him. So I
no.
don't know how many games Portland's gonna get up on the Lakers. If they ever get to 7, that would be a game to watch.
Yeah, and I completely agree. But that all being said, let's jump into the next part. I'm actually excited for this. This is the All-Star, like the All-Star finals I want to see. So with all the teams
Sure,
remaining,
sure.
I really wanted to do this. This was hard for the East, in my opinion, because everyone plays the exact same position in the East, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
so I'm gonna start with the West. I'll do mine. I
sure,
did
sure.
guards, forwards, and then center. My guard, I didn't know if Dame was gonna make it. So if he
Right,
did
right.
make it, I was gonna put Russell Westbrook above him. But that being said, I think Damian this year, just this year especially, I would put him in my All-Star final group. Kawhi Leonard is a second guard. I just think that he can mix there. LeBron is a small forward, just that forward position. Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic. I think
Okay.
Jokic is the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
center right now that
yeah.
truly is playing. So that's my West, what they look like. What about you? What do you have?
In the West. Well, let's just call the most obvious. You got to put Anthony Davis
Yeah,
as
yeah. There's no
he
one.
has to be there.
Yeah,
There's literally impossible not to put him there, right? LeBron, I would say, like, even though it's kind of hard to discern if LeBron is really playing to his potential, it's like some people
everyone's been
think that,
saying that too. He's not.
yeah, some people
He's one of
think
those
that,
guys
like,
that feed off the fans.
exactly. It's like, okay, people have said throughout his entire career, like, LeBron, if he wanted to do this, he could do it. It's like he's
Mhm.
like Superman, right? And for that, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going
Yeah,
to say, okay, LeBron is going to be on this. So Anthony Davis, LeBron. I mean, Lillard has to be on there now, man.
with his performances, that's the
He's
way I
just
see it.
unbelievably effective, so he has to be on there.
Would
Another
you go
one.
Harden?
It's like thinking about the last two spots is difficult
Yeah,
because if you want to say, okay, I want to go with Harden, you're kind of putting yourself in a jam because who are you going to take for the last couple ones, right?
yeah,
I want to take Luca, and I
yeah.
want to
That's
take,
that's the issue. I want to take Luca too, but like
yeah,
it's just
but
there's so many good players in the West.
I would probably have to take, I probably have to take Harden.
Yeah.
You know, I would. So let's see. LeBron, Anthony Davis, James Harden. I think James Harden's earned more than Luka. He's earned that benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
You know, I think he's had more experience as a player. Even though Luka, I mean, I already said it earlier,
I know.
He's all time. And then Lillard, the last one, Kawhi.
Yeah. Just those long arms, he takes over.
You know what? Actually, no, I'm gonna sub out Kawhi. I'm gonna put PG in front of Kawhi.
Okay.
Because hear me out, because I don't know how reliable Kawhi is right now. And because I don't think that I've seen enough from Kawhi to make me believe that he's 100%. Like he has, you know, these types of streaks in the media where he'll say, "Oh, well, like I've been playing through this, I've been playing through that." I don't know what Kawhi's playing through at this point. You know what I mean? Like maybe and people forget PG was a legitimate MVP candidate, you know, for years. You know what I mean? Like he's playing number 2 basically on the Clippers, according to some people. But I think that he's equal in a lot of ways to Kawhi. You know what I mean? Kawhi just like has performed in the postseason as opposed to PG. And PG obviously had a horrific leg injury.
Yeah, and he hasn't been getting the opportunity like Kawhi did, right? He didn't get to grow up in the Spurs like system, right? He didn't get to see.
Can you imagine if that happened? Like I mean, he'd be just an insane player.
You look around and like, oh yeah, Tim Duncan's over there. Okay, Tony Parker's over there. Oh, Ginobili's over there. Oh, and Popovich is telling me everything I need to know about life. Like, yeah, like I'm sorry, but but Kawhi, he came into the league as just straight defensive player, truly straight up all defense, and he's molded himself into a player, like a great overall player. PG,
I don't know.
As a scorer, he came in as like, I'm going to come out here, I'm going to be kind of similar to Dame, and that's how I saw him for the Pacers for a long time. And then now he just had to switch it, right? Because he was always number 1 in Indiana, and then he was just tossed around for a few years. Obviously, of course, the injury really does suck, really put a hamper on him. And now he's got to find his place back in the NBA because people just forgot about him.
You know, I don't know exactly how traumatic it would be to get an injury like that. Like, if anybody's seen the Paul George leg injury, it's brutal. And I don't think that – and people don't even talk about it anymore. But, man, this dude broke his leg for real. Yeah. And – you know, he came back and it was like he was hooping like nothing happened. Like people don't even understand. Like how crazy is that? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he started playing at an all-star level, then he broke his leg, and he came back and started playing at a superstar level. Yeah. I mean, like that's ridiculous.
And the best example is look at Gordon Hayward after his injury. I mean, he's not at the same level that PG is. So it just shows for a fact what that was.
I think that. You know, you look at some players, how they handle themselves, how they move with and without the ball. And Paul George is like, I always say that, like, if anybody could watch any player in the NBA to, like, show what NBA basketball is about, it would be Paul George. He is just everything you want. You know, he's big. He's a great defender. He's fast as hell. I mean, he can shoot. He can rebound. He can even play make. You know, when he was on OKC, he had just elevated his game. And now that he's, you know, on the Clippers, he seems to have found like a good fit. I think that he's a good player in terms of playing the first option and the second option. You know, when you're that good, I mean, you have to be able to adjust.
I completely agree. Now, all that being said, who's your East? Who do you have on your East?
Right.
Because East. This is the issue. Because I had a hard time with this one. I'm not gonna lie. I had to go through. Okay. I had to comb through every team. I'm like, this is just like because I mean, people are out, right? You can't do Kyrie because I mean, he's Kyrie. He's gone. Can't do Durant. Durant, who's probably the greatest scorer that we have in the league right now, because of his injury. There's just and then the players like you can't put Trae Young in there because the Hawks are trash. But like I just like so I went with Kemba Walker at a guard. I went with Dinwiddie. Because I think that he's really underrated player and he's a really good overall skilled player. Jason Tatum has to be in there. Has to, absolutely. And then I went with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know I trashed his name, and then I went with Vucevic.
Vucevic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
that's a good pick.
Magic,
I like that.
You don't see anything, but he runs.
Bro, people do not understand how good he is.
Like,
I say that all the time.
Being a 7-footer to pull up from like 3-point range to play the block to pass the way he does. It's
people talk
incredible.
about like Brook Lopez elevating his game for the Bucks. I mean, Vucevic's been doing this. He's
Like,
been like producing it at like an all-star level, and then he got the all-star nod. People are like,
yeah,
"Oh, who's this guy?" And it's
yeah.
like, man, this guy's been doing this for a long time. He's like really, really good. That's a good pick. I like Vucevic. Oh man, you kind of messed up my starting five. Now I can't put Vucevic in mine.
I think that he's so underrated playing for
Oh,
the Magic. It's just
absolutely.
incredible.
Can you imagine if think about this? Think about if he was on a contender.
Oh, if he went
How
to the
good they would
West,
be.
imagine if you put Vucevic on the Clippers.
Oh,
It'd be
that'd
game
be,
over.
it would just be a wrap. There's no way they'd lose.
Yeah.
There's no, if they
Like,
lost in the playoffs, like it would be one of the
I
worst.
don't think he would fit with LA. I think
Yeah.
that JaVale is a good pick for them, but I just think if you put him on the Clippers, that team would just be passing, shooting, dominant defense. Would just
Rebounding.
oh my
Dude,
god, that'd be
he's an
scary.
incredible rebound. Okay, so let me put him on there. Now you've
Okay.
kind of pitched me up there. Okay, so let me put Vucevic on there as a center. You said Trae Young, you couldn't put him on there. I gotta put Trae Young.
But
Trae Young.
I know, but I couldn't do it just because he's not in
I
the playoffs.
see.
But I agree, man. I'm all over Trae Young.
You
Like,
want to know some crazy? Like I couldn't even believe there was this. There was a couple of rankings that I had looked at for like top guards in the NBA, and he was on it,
Mhm.
and I thought it was wrong. Like I thought it was like, man, there's no way. And I look up all his stats. I mean, he's just like he's elevated. He got into the league, and I think he had 6 months maybe of being like a mediocre player,
Mhm.
and then he just like took off. He had like inefficiencies. He had a high turnover rate. He had he was inefficient from the field, but then his passing ability just took
Oh
off.
my god, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So I mean, he's an all-time
My
player.
only thing with Trey is just that his inconsistency does have to
True.
become more consistent. He can't
Yeah.
shoot quite like Steph. Now he has the range that he can shoot from
He
anywhere,
can't shoot quite like that. No, he can't.
but
No,
he
he
can't shoot consistently. And once he gets that down, I think once the Hawks go into the lottery and get another player that they bring out this year, I think that that's going to really change because the Hawks are on the cusp of a team that's going to be absolutely crazy. I'm just telling you right now, put your money in the
Yeah.
Hawks because they are
Yeah,
on
I
the
see that hat on you.
like
I think you're
I'm a
probably
huge
right.
Hawks fan. I'm a true Hawks fan. I've always been ever since they drafted Al Horford. I've
Right.
always been a Hawks fan, and I think with John Collins, Trae Young, and they don't forget they had Clint Capella, but he didn't play all season.
Oh
So
yeah,
they have
you're
Capella,
right.
and
They have
he hasn't
Capella.
even played. So you
Yeah.
put that team out there in the upcoming years, if they grab another small forward or another
Yeah.
guard, Huter just isn't performing the way they want him to. They get another guard or a small forward, this team is going to be absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, when you have a player like Trae Young, I mean, you got a pretty good shot
Yeah.
to build
Yeah.
around him. Like
Yeah.
he's objectively like, okay, you're gonna build around Trae Young.
Yeah.
Like that's a given. Okay, so back to the 5.
Trae Young.
Let's put Trae
Vucevic.
Young, Vucevic. I put Siakam on there
Okay.
because I feel like he has to be. Like he just like once Kawhi left
Yeah.
in Toronto, the most obvious choice for the offensive load, I mean, has to be Fred VanVleet and Siakam,
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Kyle Lowry. But, I mean, Siakam is probably one of the best transition players in the game. Maybe, I mean, you could say of all time, but, like, I think it's probably too early to say that. I think for sure right now he's one of the best. He's probably one of the most difficult people to defend in transition. So let's put him on there in the last 2. Well, Giannis.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's not much explanation, I guess. For
Yeah. No, he's there. Like, there's nothing but just he's there.
Yeah. And then
that
last
7 foot
one,
tall guy that can dunk without jumping and can shoot a 3-point. Yeah, we gotta make sure he's up there.
He's got to be on there. And then the last one, I had to put Embiid, even though
You're gonna put him over Tatum?
I have to. Yeah,
Wow.
I think that Embiid is like he's an all-star, of course, but I think that I hate to say it, like it's like a broken record for, like at this point, but I just think that when he's healthy, man, he's just impossible
And
to
it's
stop.
that's the issue with the Sixers. When are they gonna be healthy? Like,
Dude, he eats too much. I mean, like, I'm just gotta call it what it is. Joel eats too much, bro, and it's like what it
He
got
has
to a
no
point
shame
where
about it either. He's just like eating
no,
granola bars every
you
day.
see that? It's like, bro, nobody's telling you're a professional athlete. Nobody's telling you to put down the cupcake.
But have you had
Come on,
African
bro.
food? It is amazing. Like that's the
Dude,
issue. Is
he
like,
he eats so much, even for a guy his size. Let that sink in.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
fucking like 280, bro. And like,
and he was one of the players that complained about the food in the bubble, was he not?
oh, I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
think he was one of the main players that like, look at the shit that they
That's
gave us to eat. It's
that's like the
steak,
most expected
like
person to complain.
like an 8-ounce steak. I can't eat this. It's not on my level. I just can't eat this.
You know, it's funny. You watch him play, and he's such an interesting player when you think about it, Embiid, because he is so athletic. Like he's unbelievably athletic, but he moves so like inefficiently in a lot of ways. Like he looks. It's like you look at him play, you see, oh man, this guy's like kind of looks like he's heavy. Like he has heavy feet, right, running up and down the court. And then he gets the ball in his hands, he pump fakes, he's boom, he's at the rim, he's like a fucking guard.
Yeah.
So he has these like little like moments of like sporadic athleticism, right?
Yeah.
So then you say, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're fine. That's like, when we're talking about this, the reason why it's so weird is that I look at the East and it's such a team game in the East.
Oh yeah.
And in the West, I just look at it as it's like it's all about the superstars. Like it's all
Yeah.
about having that guy that's gonna carry your team.
Yeah, that's actually true. You know, I never even thought of that.
Like, and when I wish, like, I've thought about this before. You know how amazing it would be if we look at these teams like the Pelicans, like the Mavericks, like the Grizzlies, if they switched over to the East, because technically they are in the East of this country.
Right,
If
yeah.
if they went into the East, how good would the Mavericks be in the East? How good would the Memphis Grizzlies be?
How good would a lot of teams be in the East?
Yeah, right.
Let's just say.
But that's what I'm saying. The teams are really
Yeah.
on the cusp. I mean, obviously, LA can't be in the East, right? And then, like,
Yeah.
but
No,
like,
I know what you mean though.
like, and like, if
Yeah.
you just had these teams, like even the Jazz, if they could stretch over and be in the East, they would dominate. They'd be a top 3 team every year.
That's true, man. You know, the conference, there's such a case to be made for, you know, getting rid of conferences.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like I really do think we'll probably see that eventually. I don't know when. It'll be definitely an adjustment for the NBA fan base alone. But
Mhm.
I do think you can make a good argument that, you know, if you're if you're the top 16 team in the league, you should just be in the playoffs.
Think about this. The Grizzlies did not make the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Like the Suns who go 8-0 don't go make the playoffs. There's no excuse there, obviously, because you got to do better in the regular season regardless, right? Who says that they're going to do good at the end of the year if nothing happens, right? The Suns aren't going to make the playoffs if nothing happens.
Speaking of the Suns, man, let me run this by you right now. So we saw Damian Lillard. He was going off. He scored 61. He scored like 61, 51, 41, something like that. Bro, Devin Booker scored over 70. He scored over 70 points in a game once.
Like
it's like 71 or 72. Like he
scored
scored
71. 71. You're right.
He scored 71 points in a game, right?
Yeah. And he's 22 when he did it.
Bro, I thought he was younger. It's like
he could have been. He like no one realized like this kid. He's a kid. He didn't graduate college. He's 100%. Still a child.
This kid scored over 70 points in an NBA game against grown men.
Like,
come on, bro. That kid is unbelievably skilled.
And like
people don't give him enough credit, bro. Even now, people don't.
I don't even care. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't want him to leave Phoenix. Charles Barkley can shut the hell up. Or no, sorry, Draymond Green. Draymond Green. He can shut the hell up. He needs to stay with the Suns because he's gonna elevate the Suns and he's gonna make something happen there. He is. He's gonna make it work and he's gonna explode. And I think we're gonna have to put some respect on his name very soon because it should already be there.
Dude, he broke Michael Jordan's scoring record in the Boston Garden. He's like 69 points, and then he scored more than Michael Jordan in the Boston. That's unbelievable.
I know.
And people were still clowning him because Phoenix was so bad. It's like how many NBA players right now do you think can score 70 points in a game?
How many people can name 3 players on the Phoenix Suns? Like that's all you have to think about. Like that's the biggest comparison that you always have to make. Like you got to remember Michael Jordan and the cast that he had, right? He
Yeah,
had a
yeah,
team. LeBron James couldn't win in Cleveland with nobody, right? I mean,
yeah.
like Allen Iverson, the Sixers for 1 year had a decent squad. Name me three players that are on the Suns. And he's going out there and they almost make the fucking playoffs because of him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean he is just a great talent. It's kind of reminiscent in a lot of ways of the Clippers when they drafted Blake Griffin,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then once
The
Blake Griffin
carousel
went to the
players.
Clippers, and then all these players around the league were like, "Man, I want to go play with this guy.
Yeah.
Unbelievably good."
Yeah.
And I think that's eventually what's going to happen with Phoenix because now they're getting some momentum, just like what happened with the Clippers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Blake they weren't very good when Blake was there, but he was so talented that and exciting, of course, that people just wanted to go play with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's something to be said for the Suns management. I think the Suns management is like probably like has some I guess credibility to make up for in the NBA. Like just
Yeah.
considering like the last like several years. I
Yeah,
mean,
I agree.
they've had some bad moves. They've had some bad decision making. But Devin Booker is like a real talent. So I think that eventually people will start to come play with them.
I completely agree. So, I mean, that being said, who do you have going with your East-West finals? Who's winning it in your
Who's
opinion?
winning the championship?
Yeah, but between
Oh,
those two teams that we made, who's gonna pull it in? Because at the end of the day, I think the West is
oh,
just yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
The West is just too strong with the players that they have. I think
Uh,
that,
it,
like
it's impossible, man. Well, I mean, never say never, but dude, when you have Harden and Luca,
yeah.
it's like you don't even need anybody else to score.
And it's funny. Okay, and that guy LeBron James. Oh, and that
And
guy
Anthony
Anthony
Davis,
Davis.
like, there's no way.
Oh,
You're really right about the West being more All
and
Star
then you know what? Just
oriented.
just in case we haven't scored 150 yet, let's just throw Damian Lillard out there so we can score just a few more.
The scoring game in the league is objectively more important.
Yeah,
At this stage. So when I mean, you watching the bubble games, right? I mean, you
yeah,
look at this game and it's so like the offense is just incredible.
I
It's
completely
like
agree.
it's so good. It's like it matters so much more now.
I completely agree with you. So now I gotta say, what to you? What is the team that has too much hype? What's the team that you think going to like both in the East and the West? Which
Yeah.
team do you think just has too much hype on their shoulders that everyone's on the bandwagon and you don't think they're gonna be as good?
Oh man. Let me think. So from both conferences, hmm, I think from the East, probably the Bucks.
I
Like
that's
I
it. I'm the same. I have the exact same team.
because like what I was saying earlier, it's you got to prove it now. You had that really really poor shot. So they were up 2-1 to the Raptors,
Mm-hmm.
and they were definitely the better team. I think.
Yeah.
I think they were the better team. Still, and if they're the better team and you lose, you got to prove it the next year. So I think the Bucks are probably the biggest question mark. I think that's an easy one in the East. There's not as
Yeah,
many.
yeah. No, the East, they're all pretty underrated. Like no one
Yeah,
expects except
really.
for Bucks and Boston to be in it. No one's
Yeah.
overhyped. Now, what about the West?
Oh man, the West,
Because I have my team, and I can say it's the Rockets.
the Rockets. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
oh my God, Harden. Oh my God, Westbrook. Now Westbrook, I love Westbrook. I've never been able to jump on the Harden bandwagon. I don't know.
Really?
Like I
Why
just
don't you like James Harden? I want to
so
know.
I don't like that his I don't care about the collect step, like the gather step. I'm
Right,
sorry,
right.
the gather step is called a
The
travel.
collect step. Okay.
The gather step is a travel. Taking 5 steps before you shoot is a travel. And I like he's such a prolific scorer. He's an incredible scorer. You cannot get like I cannot take that away from him.
Yeah,
But I love
yeah.
complete players. That's why we love Luca so much, right? We love Luca so much because he is truly a complete player. Like he just
Well, I mean, they're very similar. I think that Luca doesn't really have much to offer on the defensive end, just like
I
James
but
does.
I think that he when he progresses later into his career, he's someone that I'm going to see that defense because he's just such a big body that
Mm,
he's gonna have to play defense. He can't
I
be a
see.
point guard for his entire life. So I just look at when I see him is just I hated Beverly when he was at the Rockets too. I am not a Beverly. I don't think Beverly actually plays defense. I just think he gets up on people and
Oh
that's
my
it.
goodness,
But
Patrick Beverly.
to me, I just think the Rockets are overrated just because everyone thinks that I don't know if it's a Harden bandwagon or if it's a Rockets bandwagon, but I don't think they're as good as the fans want to think they are.
Yeah,
They're
it's like at this current state in the NBA, everybody wants to say like, okay, anybody that joins this guy, these guys go together, and then these guys go together, and these guys go together. Unfortunately, though, they're right in a lot of ways. I mean, NBA players, they find a way to make it work, and like when it comes to a sport like basketball, it really is so top heavy in terms of like talent. If you have a all-star player, you're gonna have a chance to win. If you have two former MVPs, I don't care what their play styles are, they're gonna figure it out. So like, I do think that the Rockets, I think the skepticism was warranted in the beginning, but man, they proved it, Brent. They're the 4th seed. You know what I mean?
I will say, to me, 4 seed for James Harden and Russell Westbrook is not
You think
good
it's
enough.
not enough?
I mean, come on. How do the Jazz are above them, right?
No, I think the Jazz are 6th.
Or Nuggets. Sorry, Nuggets. I knew it was one of them.
Nuggets.
How are the
Nuggets.
Nuggets above you, but they don't have anyone? I know Jamal Murray is great. I mean,
That's true though.
Like,
true.
how are you not number 3? And I
Yeah.
think, to me, the Rockets, I look at them as a great regular season team. They're a team that really does like pick on the poor, but cannot beat the best. Truly, when you look at them.
Oh my God, it's so funny though. I love that phrase.
They're gonna go to the East and they're gonna destroy every East team. But when they have to go into, like, if they go into the Staples Center, they're not gonna beat the Lakers or the Clippers, right? Like, if they're gonna go to the Garden, they're not gonna beat the Celtics. That's just they're so about their home, and I think this might benefit them possibly, not having to travel, being in the same place. They're one of those teams that might actually help. But I think that to be a 4 seed when you have 2 former MVPs and how much they like fought to be with each other, it's not, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Rockets are really a great case study in NBA history, because they've really gone full force into the analytics. From the, I don't even remember, like, maybe since James Harden got there, they've gone so hard into the most effective way to score, the most effective way to try and win basketball games statistically. And so far it's worked. It's just playoff basketball in the NBA and regular season basketball are not the same. And I think the casual fan probably won't understand like why teams that have a lot of hype behind them, like the Rockets, maybe falter off in the playoffs like they have been before. There is a obviously luck involved in a lot of ways. Sometimes, they miss 27 threes in a row or whatever they missed a couple of years ago. They missed a ridiculous amount of threes in a row. That's just, statistically so insignificant how that would happen. So a lot of it just comes down to that. I think that, James Harden, man, his durability is just unbelievable. I really think that he's probably actually, now that I think about it, he probably has the most to prove in the playoffs.
He does.
Because he hasn't really performed, I'd say, in there's some players that don't show up in the playoffs, some players that do, and they have that kind of, stigma around them. But, Harden has to come through in the playoffs. He really does. Westbrook, I don't know. I think he has as much to prove as James.
He's too good of a player. I think he gets lost in the fact that he's one of those players that he can never win an NBA championship, but he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Just what he's done, done in the sport. He's so, and it's not a personal accolade with him. He's such a good team player. Like, he does everything for a team. He's not going out there dropping 60 a game. He's out there dropping a triple-double.
Yeah. So. People, they got on Westbrook too much. I think they got on Westbrook too much. He is definitely an unorthodox player. Let's just call it what it is. But think about, this is purely anecdotal, but I've never heard any NBA player ever say anything bad about him.
No.
Ever. I've heard nothing bad. Like, no teammate has ever come out and said, I don't like Russell Westbrook. Nobody. And, on the other hand, somebody like Chris Paul, a lot of people don't like Chris Paul.
Kyrie Irving, right?
Kyrie, a lot of people don't like Kyrie. And nobody says they don't like Westbrook. You know what I mean?
Completely agree.
I mean, I think that you're right. He's probably one of those guys that will be, and he is already an all-star, like, first ballot Hall of Famer, I'd say. Like, he's just changed the game in a lot of ways. He's proven that he's really proven how much you can accomplish from a point guard.
Yeah. He's changed that position.
Point guard.
Yeah. Yeah. He's someone that he doesn't care. There's no one like him that's truly ever played the sport. Like,
yeah.
I can't think.
But here's the thing, though, about Westbrook, and this is why I kind of can never really – I think people are too hard on him. Let me say that. On the other hand, it's like, okay, but Westbrook, his decision-making is so poor sometimes. It is so bad. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen Westbrook go into the teeth of the defense, kick the ball out, somebody catches it like this over their head, like 5 feet, and then they hit the backboard for the three. Like, he has these types of plays where, yes, you got an open look, but the pass was so bad because you're just flying into the defense. Like, he relies on these unpredictable play. Like, his unpredictability is his benefit and also, like, the detriment. You know what I mean? At the same time, like, he has these bad turnover ratings. He has bad three-point shot. His assist numbers, while they're high, he has a lot of risky passes. Like, he has so many passes he'll just throw because he wants to see if it'll work, right?
And I think this goes with kind of the teams he's been a part of, with the Rockets especially, because the Rockets, to me, this is one of the reasons why I don't like them. They're a hot, streaky team.
Yeah.
If someone's hitting their shots, he's going to keep getting it. But once one person's missing his shots, they go to the next guy. But once that guy's missing his shots, they go to the next guy. And how many times can you go down that line? Right?
Well, I mean, the 27 threes missed in a row.
Exactly.
Like, how often is it going to happen? Like, what was that one year that they were in the
conference finals,
Western Conference Finals with the Warriors?
When they missed all the field goals.
I had them going to the finals that year. What year was that? 2018?
I think so. It was the year that it was the year that the Warriors won it, wasn't it? Was that 20? That wasn't.
I think it might have been.
Whatever
year it was.
Yeah, we know that. Like, I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah. I mean, whatever year it was, I had the Rockets beating them that series because it was when Chris Paul and James Harden and
Clint Capella
and they were playing amazing.
Oh my god!
And it's like, this team can't lose in the playoffs. If they lose, it's going to be a failed season. And they were, like, literally this close to winning. But then they lose, and it's like, oh, well, this system doesn't work. This system can't work.
And I think that's when they were
so wrong.
That's when they were crowned that too. Like,
exactly.
They were crowned as a team that's not going to be able to make it in the playoffs. Will look great in dress rehearsal, but when the show is on, they're going to fail. They're not going to be able to perform.
I mean, if you went, I don't know how you would ever determine this, but if you had a stat to show the probability of missing that many shots, I mean, it's got to be like less than 1%.
Just stop shooting. At that point, once you hit 20, just stop shooting.
Just stop shooting.
But yeah. So this goes perfectly with me to teams I don't really want to see in the finals. Who's a team that you don't want to see in the finals?
Oh man, I want to see
mine are the Rockets
team in the finals. Okay,
mine are the Rockets. I don't want to see the Rockets in the finals. I'm not gonna lie. And then the team I don't want to see I don't want to see the Heat. I don't know why. I won't enjoy a finals.
You won't enjoy the Heat?
No, I really won't.
Bro, this might be where me and you diverge now.
I want to see.
Heat are awesome.
I'm on Team Pacers. I'm not gonna lie. I like the Pacers, and it's funny because those are the two teams that are playing each other in the first round. Who's gonna come out, TJ or Jimmy? And I just think that it won't be entertaining to see the Heat in the finals compared to seeing someone like Boston, compared to seeing the Pacers or some other team.
Man, I think that the Heat are a dark horse team.
Okay.
They were saying, who was it? I think Charles Barkley on TNT was saying that, the Heat don't scare anybody. I would honestly argue that a lot of people are probably concerned because the thing is, how many NBA teams have a coach that's coached in the finals?
Yeah.
Greg Spoelstra's done it. Like, how many times?
He's won it.
He has that acumen. He has the adjustments ready. You know, even people talk about playoff experience for the players. Playoff experience for the coaches matters a lot too. So I think Spoelstra, he's a great coach. You know, of course when LeBron goes to the Heat, you're going to see more of Greg Spoelstra. You're going to get highlighted more, but he is a phenomenal coach. He's done a great job with the Heat right now, and I think that if they get past the Pacers and they challenge the Bucks, I mean, them being the Bucks, I think that you have to figure out how to stop Giannis. That's number one. And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think that any team in the East honestly can beat the Bucks though. I think the East truly is wide open.
Oh, really?
I honestly see if you're doing rankings, I'm going to see the Celtics are the step above because every team in the East to me are very similar, like in the style that they play. Because the Bucks to me are the only team that really plays in the Western Conference style. They have their superstars, and they're going to play it through that. But everyone else in the East, there's no superstars, right? There's no one or two players carrying the entire team.
Yeah, I guess the 76ers are kind of like that, where they have like
they have Embiid and they have
Embiid and Simmons. But I mean, Simmons is gone, so I don't even know what their chances are.
Exactly. And to me, the Sixers, their supporting cast has to be so strong. They truly do. And like you don't see, so that's why I look at like the East is just really wide open in my opinion. But anyways,
you never know. I mean, there was the year in 2011 when Dallas got to the finals and then they won, and everybody was just like, wow, how the hell did that happen? It seems obvious now that you know they were a great team, and
that's what I'm saying with Dallas at the time.
Yeah, you're right. Dallas right now,
like it's gonna do the exact same thing.
Yeah, that would be an incredible series.
So what's a team that you don't want to see then in the finals in the East?
In the East, team that I don't want to see in the finals in the East. I mean, I want to see all the teams, honestly, in the finals. But let me say this: I don't want to see Embiid and the 76ers in the finals because I think that they gotta figure it out.
They need a kick in the ass. They need a kick in the ass to
first of all, I don't think they're gonna get to the finals. Let me say it like that. And I think let me just go on a little tangent about the 76ers. They have to figure themselves out because I've been on that train for so long. When they had Embiid and Simmons, I've been a fan of Joel since he was at Kansas. Like when he got drafted into the league, I mean, he was great, even though he had these like turbulent first couple of years. And I think Simmons is arguably the best defensive guard in the league. I think he actually is the best defensive guard in the league. So when you have those two types of players, even though people give them flack, like it's the same thing with Harden and Westbrook. Like you have to figure this out. You have to. And now it's like, I don't want them to even get far in the playoffs. I want them to lose first round just so like they have a chance to figure out what their identity is.
Well, I mean, they're playing the Celtics, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if they got swept. So
yeah, well, I mean, I want Simmons to come back healthy. You don't want a player to play through any injuries or anything. So I want them to figure it out. You know, I just want them to just get out of the playoffs right now. Just go back, figure it out, come back next year.
Throw away this entire season. Just give up on it.
Don't go in the playoffs. Don't go.
So what about the West? So what was their team in the West that you don't want to see in the finals?
Oh man, I don't want to see the Clippers in the finals. I gotta say, because I don't really know exactly why. I mean, it could be bias. Of course, I want the Lakers to be in the finals, right? And you know, people think that it's going to be obviously either those two teams, right? But I think that the Clippers have the chip on their shoulders, you know, like they're the underdog and they're this and they're that. But I just think it would really kind of ruin it for me for some reason. I used to be on the Clippers train, but now, like, to be honest with you, what happened with Portland, where like they were chirping Damian Lillard, like I'm a diehard Portland fan. Yeah. And when they were chirping Damian Lillard, I was like, man, these guys don't have half the amount of. Well, I mean, some of them do. Obviously, Paul George is a phenomenal player, but I think Beverly mostly. It's like Beverly can't.
I can't. I don't want to get on that. I just physically can't get on.
So like, I honestly think that it would be kind of disappointing for me for them to be in the finals because there's so many teams I'd rather see in the West come out. Like I want to see Portland come out. I want to see the Lakers. Dallas would be interesting. Like I said in the first round, they're playing the Clippers. So all those teams, I think that they're probably going to be a hard team to knock off. You're gonna have to kill them, man, to get them out of the playoffs.
Mhm.
But I'd rather not see them in the finals.
I agree. I honestly I can see that too. And another one is like I'm not a huge fan. I don't want to see the Bucks really in the finals. I'm not like it's not
Yeah.
something I'm like crazy to see. I don't really care about seeing the Bucks in the final, but that's kind of like just like it just wouldn't be entertaining to me. What's a team that you love to see in the finals? That you absolutely love to see in the finals?
The Heat. The Heat, bro.
Really?
Yeah, man. You said you don't want to see the Heat, man.
Yo,
Seeing the Heat in the finals would be
could we
awesome.
imagine if we had a Heat versus Mavericks rematch?
Oh, it'd be unbelievable.
Oh my God. And it could happen. I could totally see this year
If
it
they
happen.
pull off, it would be unbelievable if the Mavericks beat the Clippers.
Yeah.
If they did that, I mean, this is why I mentioned earlier why I wanted to see what Luka could do in the playoffs, because he's such a phenomenal player. If he performs in the playoffs, like his status is going to go from already like top of the league, like to even higher. He's going to be like arguably one of the best players in the league. If he performs in the playoffs against the Clippers, wow, man.
If the Mavericks win the finals, I may sit in a corner and cry because my Hawks traded Luka Doncic.
Oh yes, yeah, the Luka. Oh my
and
God.
in 3 years he wins the finals. That would hurt me so bad. So the Heat would be good. I want to see the Pacers. I think that the Pacers would be a really cool team. I would love to see the Nuggets. I think this is a team that they're that team that how I was saying, not many players in the East play the West style. They're a team that play in the West that play an East style.
Yeah.
They're so team-oriented. Obviously, Murray is great. Jokic is amazing too. But I just think that this is a team that is really underestimated. No one really gives them the credit that they really deserve and they should have.
They have a lot of options
God.
offensively, and the thing with Jokic is that, like, he is, first of all, he's top 3 center.
Yep.
Inarguably top 3 center. Probably the best passing big man of all time already.
Yeah.
And when you have that level of basketball IQ on a team, it really becomes infectious, man. Like, Jokic is not going out there. I mean, there's a lot of players that historically have the same type of physical assets as Jokic, but he's got tremendous skill. But his sense, his instincts are it really sets him apart.
When you
I think that the team,
centers, I'm sorry, which is like to piggyback off you. If you can put 3 centers out there, and Bol was to see what happens with him, but to put him and Jokic and everyone out there, and to have him running point guard, we have a center running point guard, and is out there, and it just shows that this team, like, play Giannis. Okay, we'll put 3 centers out there. Good luck scoring on us.
it would be ridiculous to see them in the finals. I have to admit, if they get past the Clippers and the Lakers, wow, man. That would be a tremendous upset.
And to me, I mean, I'm looking at their first round for the Nuggets. They're playing the Jazz. Now, Mitchell, like Donovan, like this is gonna be a weird series. But I can see either
man,
them winning.
It really is.
But if the Nuggets can knock out the Jazz quickly, I mean, the Lakers are going to have their hands full with the Trailblazers. I think the Clippers are going to have their hands full with the Mavericks. If you can get one of these teams tired by the time you play them, you're going to have a great opportunity to beat them.
Yeah. It's really going to come down to who can stamp out their opponent the quickest. Because the thing is, like, you don't have travel.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have home court advantage.
Mm-hmm.
All those are huge factors.
Mm-hmm.
When a team has to go across the country to play another team, it really matters. Like in terms of like their
sleeping habits, everything, like just like eating. Like every time I get on an airplane, I'm sick after, no matter what. So like,
totally.
So I completely agree. So if the Nuggets can beat the Jazz quick, they, I think, might have an incredible opportunity to be in the finals.
This is the thing, though. Out of all the teams in the West, out of all the players in the West, the one player who I really, really, really want to see come out on top is Anthony Davis.
Yes.
I want to see Anthony Davis cook people.
Yes.
Because the thing is, if you're Anthony Davis, there's no more type of, you could never even think of an excuse at this point.
No.
For why you shouldn't lead your team. Like LeBron is obviously he's arguably the GOAT, but Anthony Davis, for where you are in your career right now, how talented you are, how skilled you are, you should average like 30
I agree.
at least
I
like
agree.
35,
And
like and 15 rebounds.
And my podcast with Max, that's the exact same. Like, if they make it to the finals, I see Davis winning the MVP. I see
I
him,
could see that. I
and I
could really
see
see
it
that,
over
man.
LeBron winning because LeBron's been there, he's done that. What does LeBron have to do anymore in the league? Like,
LeBron just has to lead all the young kids in
no,
the league now,
LeBron has to
man.
retire and run for president. That's what
No,
LeBron has to
LeBron
do.
can't retire. LeBron can't ever retire.
Okay,
We
he'll
can't
run for
have a league without LeBron.
Could you imagine if we had LeBron James as president and playing in the NBA at the same time? It can happen. I
I
mean,
wouldn't be surprised, man. I wouldn't be
2024,
surprised.
get ready for it. But,
yeah, literally anything can happen. After this year, anything can happen.
but I see Davis. He has to be hungry and he has to want to win it.
He has to be, man. He has to just really look. He's one of those guys where you can't phase him.
Yeah.
Right. He hasn't been phased his whole career. He's been one of those guys who really has like been head and shoulders the better player there his entire life. His entire life he's been the best player. And then he's in the league in the NBA, he's still the best player. And people try to not some players get, mentally they get rocked, but Davis, he has to just come through and like if you are the Lakers and you get past the second round and you play the Rockets or OKC, Davis got to average 40 because there's no way anybody on either of those teams can check you.
No.
Nobody can check you on the Rockets.
No.
Nobody can check you on OKC. You're basically a shoe into the Western Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
You have to perform if you're Davis. I mean, LeBron, like you said, LeBron doesn't have a lot to prove. I still think like in terms of, all time, people are going to scrutinize LeBron always. Yeah. So they're going to have like this level of analysis on his game and what he did and what he didn't do, etc. But Anthony Davis, man, he has to just go off all the time. Like every game, he's got to go off. If he goes off and they lose, then it's a different story. But if he doesn't go off and they lose, man, that is – if he gets like 25 points, that's not enough, man.
No.
He's got to just get every bucket.
Yeah. He's got to average 20-20 every night, like straight
Literally,
up. Like,
man.
And there's not many people in this conference that are going to really go and out-rebound him. Like
there's nobody. Like there's literally nobody.
Who's going to be like you and Nurkic first round, like against like you're going to let Nurkic go out there and out-rebound. Now, he's a great rebounder for his size. Truly, he goes out there and does it. But Anthony Davis, how long he is, how strong he is, how tall he is, like he's just he can't.
It's more so the scoring. Yeah, I think with Davis, it's more so the scoring. Like nobody in the league can check Anthony Davis.
No.
And especially right now, like you have to establish yourself. You have to think like the Lakers, this organization, it's historically so relevant. With all these great centers coming out, you have to be the next one. And I just have such high expectations for him because I just want to see him really lead. I just want to see him really like take that next step. Like the Pelicans, when he was with them, there's obviously only so much you can blame on a player for how good they're doing. Like Devin Booker, like I said, he scored 71 points in the game.
That's all his fault. He's not
it's all his fault, right? Exactly. It was like, what do you want? Like,
yeah.
So now that you have this opportunity, I just want to see him step up and just dominate. I just want to see Anthony Davis dominate this playoffs. Man. That's the one thing I want to see.
And I completely agree. He's someone to me that truly deserves it over any other player. I can't think of anyone other than Paul George maybe that deserves it as much as he does. And Lillard. I guess Lillard is a part of that group because how much heart and soul has Lillard put in Portland? Like that's another team I would love to see in the final. The West, I just want to see like the lower seeds just all be in the finals.
I can tell.
Can we just be the Mavericks and the Trailblazers? Can we just see the Nuggets? Like any team but the LA. And to talk about that, when's the last time we ever talked about both LA teams being so amazing?
Never.
Like think about this. Like they are the one.
This good? No. This good? No.
Like you have to like think about the Clippers during that time before at the end of Kobe's career, the Clippers were trying to get some traction and everything, and they just couldn't do it. And now you just see these two teams, and it's just like holy shit! Like these two teams are absolutely incredible. Like they're two of the best teams in history, and one of them cannot be in the finals no matter what.
Yeah, it's impossible. Like I really want to say it's almost impossible for one of them not to make it. Like
Yeah.
all these, like I love Portland. If Portland beat the Lakers, that would be unbelievable. If Dallas beats the Clippers, that would be unbelievable. But just realistically, I don't know, man. Like
I know.
they are so good. Both of those teams, the Lakers and the Clippers.
I know. So that being said, the first round, I just want to do the first round.
All right.
We'll talk about it after. We're gonna start with the East. Bucks versus Magic. Who do you have?
Bucks versus Magic. Well, Bucks. Do you
Okay.
want to give the actual game?
I have
How
my
many?
game. Yeah, I have my
Okay,
games. Do you
okay.
have yours?
I'll pick them out right now. Bucks and Magic. I'd say Bucks and 5.
Oh, the same. Dead on.
There's
4
no
and
way.
1. I just
There's
see
no
it.
way. Yeah.
Raptors versus Nets. I honestly have the Raptors sweeping it. Maybe losing 1 or 2.
Really?
Yeah.
I think the Raptors might lose a couple. The Nets have some great players.
They're that team. They are truly a team, and they have to
They are a
be,
great team.
especially now because of Kyrie
Yep.
and Kevin. So I can see them losing, but I just see the Raptors winning that.
I'd say Raptors in 6. I'd say
Yeah.
they're gonna give them some trouble. But I mean, the Raptors are really, really solid.
Yeah. Celtics and the Sixers.
How's Joel's ankle? Do you know?
I
I don't know if he's gonna be ready.
I think he's gonna miss at least the first couple. Same with Westbrook. They're both gonna miss
Right.
the first couple games. So that's like, but I still think if he can't play, Celtics dominate. Celtics
Yeah.
absolutely destroy.
I'd say Celtics in if Joel plays,
I
it's
have
a
them in
different story.
7.
It depends on how Joel
Yeah.
plays, right? Because again, it's like the same thing with Anthony Davis, where the Celtics, I mean, you're not gonna let Daniel Theis or anybody else in the Celtics
No.
slow you down. So I probably have them in 6. I probably have the Celtics in 6,
And
depending on how good.
if he plays, I think I have him in 7.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be one of the best first series that we're gonna get to watch because they're so evenly matched, in my opinion. Pacers versus the Heat. I know you have the Heat. Do you have the Heat?
I have the Heat, but I have them in 7 though.
Okay, I have
have them in
this.
7.
I have the Pacers. I have them in 6.
Yeah? You
Yeah.
think so?
I think Warren is gonna. I think Warren's pissed off.
Stop.
I think he's
Would you
pissed off.
stop, man?
I think he's gonna
TJ
have to be.
Warren.
So no. I understand. No. I'm not gonna be a prisoner of the moment, but I think it's a disrespect thing.
Uh-huh.
I think truly it's a disrespect thing, and I think that he's gonna have to perform. I think the Pacers are truly just a better team. Like roster wise, I have the Pacers over the Heat.
The
And
thing is, the
also-
Pacers lost Oladipo and they lost Sabonis, though.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
but also
So-
didn't DJJ is he out completely?
Yeah, I think
He got a strained neck.
He looked like he wasn't going to come back.
But he got a
like
strained
that.
neck is what it came up to. So he's going to at least
Yeah.
miss the first 3 games. I don't know how much that really affects them, but like, see, that's what I'm like without him, without losing everyone that they pretty much have.
I think that the player that's the most scary, and this is why I'd rather see. I'd love to see the Heat in the finals. If they could ever get there somehow, I'd love to see it. But the player that's really, really scary is Bam. Bam
Yeah.
Adebayo. I mean, he just has some incredible abilities.
Yes, I
And
completely
that's kind of
agree.
why I have the Heat taking over the series, is because when Whiteside was with the Heat and Bam was coming off the bench, it was just a different team. You know, they were trying to not build around Whiteside, but they're trying to incorporate Whiteside
Mhm.
gradually. He obviously had some injuries for the majority of the time that he was there, but Bam, so athletic. He runs, he rebounds, I mean, you look at his numbers; it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And so his energy, I think, is going to come through in the playoffs. What is he, like 21?
Yeah.
He's got energy for days.
Well,
man.
and then you look at Tyler Hero.
Yeah, all those young guys, they're going to come out.
Like, honestly, I see Hero having a game where he drops like 35. I don't know why.
100%.
I
I
just
could see
see him
that
coming
too.
out and just shooting the lights off. And
Yeah.
like literally they're just gonna shut down the resort. Everyone's gonna just go back to the room. He's just gonna do so good. They're just gonna screw. So that's an interesting one. That I think is gonna be an interesting series. I do have the Pacers. I'm guessing you have the Heat.
Yeah, I have the
But-
Heat in 7.
Okay, that's good because that's the first one we've kind of disagreed on. So that's a good one to come back to.
For sure.
So now the West, Lakers versus the Trailblazers.
Oh, man. Like what I said about Anthony Davis, man. he's the difference maker. If
Mm-hmm.
he plays the way he's supposed to play, there's no way they're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I love Portland as my favorite team, but if I had to just give an actual prediction, I'd say Lakers in 5, man. I think that Anthony Davis has to come out and show out.
If he gets through Nurkic, the rest of his playoffs are just like, Coach, I'm going to score 40 tonight. Just give me the ball.
He has to score. He has to score at will.
And I think Nurkic is going to be a good matchup for him. I think he's the only good matchup they're going to have. That's just how I feel. I think Nurkic has a lot of motivation since his grandmother did pass away and everything from COVID. So I think that's going to put a fire under his ass too. I have the Lakers going 4-2. I see this being 1-1 after the first 2 games. And I think that's going to piss off the Lakers that they just don't think that the Trailblazers are on that team, like on that level as them.
I think you're right.
And I think them just dominating, and then Dame is going to be 3-1, and Dame's going to come out, have a great game 5.
Yeah.
He's going to save the game for one more day, and then they're just going to get knocked out the next game.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see
it's going to be interesting how they're going to corral Damian Lillard and CJ.
Yeah.
Because they're known for their – I mean – I think that one of the biggest losses for the Lakers is Avery Bradley. They were really thinking that, well, when the Lakers came into the season, the way they made their roster was really focusing on defensive guards because it just really set the tone a lot for how, I mean, they brought in Danny Green, they brought in Avery Bradley. But now that Bradley is gone, I think that it's just difficult for me to – if I have a matchup and if I'm looking at 2 matchups and I say, okay, there's Bradley guarding Lillard or Dion Waiters guarding Lillard or J.R. Smith guarding Lillard, I mean, it's not close. It's not close, like, between the defensive abilities. So, like, you need guys like Bradley to slow people like Lillard and McCollum down. So that's a huge loss for them.
And the more we talk about it, too, I think the Trailblazers have such a good chance. Like,
you think so?
I think if they get past the Lakers, if they can get past the first round, they're such a complete team.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to change my prediction here. I'm going to say...
Well, really?
I'm going to say Lakers in 7.
Okay, because you just see Lillard just having such a
I mean, thinking about it a little bit more now, they're going to have to, like, tackle that guy to get him off it.
Like, literally. like they're going to take a baton and, like,
hurt
just
him
hit him or, like,
to get him to stop scoring.
And I agree. Yeah. And if that doesn't work, just dishes it out. Okay, CJ, just hit a few threes.
Yeah.
Drive into the paint, hit Whiteside, hit Nurkic, and then we'll win the series.
Nurkic, Gary Trent Jr., Whiteside. I mean, those guys, they all play very great basketball.
Like, could you imagine them in the East? Could you imagine that team in the East?
Yeah.
Like, that's the number 1 seed in the East. And they're number 8.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they're a great team, man.
So Clippers
it'll be a great series
Mavs.
To watch.
What about Clippers versus Mavs?
That's also a good question. I'd say this one's kind of hard because you don't really know how well KP and Luka are going to gel in the playoffs, right?
If the Mavericks perform the way they do, they're going to be hard to beat. I think that the Clippers are they're the team I'm worried about because if they're all on, they're going to destroy it. I have them going 4-1. They're going to just sweep this. But if they're not on, I don't see them really they're going to get through the Mavericks because the Mavericks are just going to come out there and just go off. Like, they're going to have to perform every single game. They're going to score 120 every game because they have to.
They have that ability.
I agree. And the Clippers is that they want to score 120, but if one player's off, are they going to score 120?
True. Yeah, I mean, on the Clippers, they have a lot of potential offensively, but I'd say the Mavs almost have more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a really weird way. I mean, you have KP and Luka. And Luka, like I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. Luka is an all-time player. Like, he elevates his team more than Kawhi elevates the Clippers, more than Paul George elevates the Clippers. Like, seriously. So I think that if Luka, so it's Anthony Davis and Luka. Those are the 2 guys I want to see really show up. Because if Luka plays unbelievable basketball, I mean, they're gonna probably get a couple games. I'd say, okay, I'm gonna go and say Clippers are gonna take it in 6, but
Yeah.
I want to see the Mavs win at least 2
I agree.
because let's be real. The only way they're gonna win 2 is if Luka plays well, and I really want Luka to play well because like I just think that he has to.
Boban is winning the Finals MVP. Just get ready for it. That is my hot take.
That is a hot take. That is the hottest take I ever heard.
No, but I agree. I would, because if the Mavs win 2, I think that is literally a win on the season. I think that
100. That's exactly my point. If they win 2 against the Clippers, so who was it that won? Oh, it was the Clippers. They won a couple against the Golden State Warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it took them to 6 or 7 games 2 years ago.
It was like
and
that,
and that is like, wow, you know, that was a successful season.
You put a roadblock and they just had to take a detour. Like you made them a little bit tired when they celebrated a parade in their home city. Good job.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. But it was a great series, though.
Yeah,
it was a great series to watch, and you think, but the thing is, that sets the tone for this season. Like it really does have this carryover effect, right? That's why it's so unfortunate, like people like that when Ben Simmons got hurt, because if they had a successful postseason, I mean, getting to the second round and maybe after, I mean, that carries over to the next year.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
What about the Nuggets and Jazz? This is a weird one because these teams to me are very similar on paper.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, I have the Nuggets sweeping.
Really? Do you?
I'm gonna go on a limb here and say the Nuggets are not gonna get phased. I need to have one prediction where it's kind of off base because nothing goes according to plan.
Yeah. Okay. I see the Nuggets. I see the Nuggets winning, and I think it's gonna be a good series. I do. I think this is gonna be the best series. I think this is gonna be the best series in the West. I think it's gonna be 7.
Okay.
I think this is the best series in the West. So we're going to watch the Jazz just sweep.
Let's go opposite on this because I think that the coronavirus that just tore apart the Jazz. I just did. Rudy Gobert, the stigma.
Yep, you're completely 100%, and I see that, but I just see
the chemistry.
Yeah, I get that. Just because of that, just because he said, just because he touched all these mics and everything.
It's a curse, man. They're cursed.
Yeah. All right, then. Well, that's good. I like that. Rockets versus Thunder.
Rockets versus Thunder.
This is my hot take now.
Okay, let me hear yours first.
I have the Thunder winning. I have the Thunder winning.
Okay.
Because I needed
That's a good one.
I needed one upset, I think, in the first round.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's really an upset. I think that the Thunder with Chris Paul and just everything about them, I think that they could beat the Rockets because the Rockets are going to do what the Rockets fucking do and get to the playoffs and miss 27 3-pointers in a row.
Man, who the hell knows with the Rockets, man? I think that Chris Paul is arguably one of the best point guards of all time.
Yeah.
Like
he's
anybody that knows NBA basketball knows that Chris Paul is just an unbelievable NBA player. And so for that reason alone, I think that the other teammates, like this is what I mean with like one player changing the atmosphere, right? With Giannis, for example, and then Lillard, people crowd around them. People crowd around Chris Paul in every organization. So I think that they are going to come out with some toughness. They're going to come out and test them. I do have the Rockets winning only because I think that Harden himself, like the firepower he has, I don't know if Billy Donovan has a game plan for James Harden. I don't know if many other NBA coaches have game plan for him. Like you can't just let James Harden score 40. He's gonna go off every single game after that because he's he's one of those players that just like he's never rusty, ever. So I have the Rockets winning in 7 games.
Okay. Now I have an interesting thing. I wonder if, because Billy Donovan coached Chandler Parsons. I know Chandler Parsons is out and everything like that. I wonder if he called Chandler Parsons because he played for the Rockets
Yeah.
and just ask like, hey, what's their kind of routine? What's kind of like something like that? Because Billy Donovan's one of those guys because he's won 2 national championships for Florida, right? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he's just one of those guys that's gonna call and like try to get every information to get over something like that because he has that
Totally.
kind of mentality. He's like the Bill Belichick. He's like so anal about everything that he wants everything to be perfect. Because I think because to me Billy Donovan and Brad Stevens are very similar just because of their backgrounds because they've had to
Hmm.
like to have a turnaround every 4 years of your players is so difficult to think
It's
of
so difficult. It's
and
so difficult,
and
man.
to think that he's had that already in the NBA with Russell and everything going on and leaving and everything like that. So it just shows that he's so
Very true.
and
Very true.
PG and everything like that. He's so used to this already. I think that he's one of those guys that he's gonna over prepare.
He's a great coach.
He
He
really
is a
is.
great
He's
coach.
a basketball coach, and that's what like
100%.
there's a superstar coach, and then there's a basketball coach, and that's the Popoviches, that's the Brad Stevens, that's even I mean like it's just, and then you have Phil who just gets so freaking lucky and just gets the best teams of all time, as well as being the greatest coach of all time, and just
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. A lot of it's the luck, right? You get an
yeah,
opportunity as a coach, and then you got to go with the opportunity. Like Eric Spoelstra when he
yeah.
got the opportunity to coach LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh. He really did his part. He really came through and coached them to these championships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that in terms of Billy Donovan and how he's going to handle James Harden, I mean, James Harden is. This is the thing, man. People complain about watching James Harden, but it's impossible for him not to get to the line. Like he is going to put pressure on their defense every play. But not only that, it's impossible for James not to get to to not get to the free throw line. But Westbrook is statistically one of the best finishing guards in the league, and he gets to the line also. So you kind of have to plan in advance for these kind of downhill offensive onslaughts from the Rockets. On the defensive end, it might be different, but the difference in this series, I think, is the fact that OKC doesn't have really a dominant big man offensively. Steven Adams really doesn't have the offensive acumen as a lot of big men. So in terms of dominating people like PJ Tucker, I mean, he could, but the difference, like PJ Tucker versus Anthony Davis or PJ Tucker versus Steven Adams,
Yeah.
like the difference is, it's ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
Anthony Davis is going to score every time. So if Steven Adams was like more of he had more offensive talent, I'd say probably OKC might win the series, actually.
I think OKC, if they spread the court more too, because Adams can shoot a little bit, like
A little bit, yeah.
yeah. So if they can spread the court on the Rockets and kind of like just like get it out there, that might benefit them. I feel like that might actually help them like get it a little bit further in the series because I can see the Thunder truly just hampering up the Rockets. If
You might be right about the Thunder winning.
like when you think
know?
about it, like
When you think about it, because they have some scoring options, man. They really do match the Rockets in a lot of ways. The only thing that they don't match the Rockets in is superstar talent.
yeah, and why does Billy Donovan need superstar talent?
Yeah, I mean Shai and Danilo Gallinari, those two guys are phenomenal offensive players.
Exactly.
So I hope that Shai. That's a good point. I hope Shai comes through in the playoffs too.
So I think that's what I think. I think the Thunder, and I think honestly, to God, Chris Paul has that chip on his shoulder. I think that
For his whole life,
like literally,
he has.
like if he could have a chip on his shoulder, he would probably grow like 7 inches. Like with how much shit he's been through.
Here's a hot take. Chris Paul knew. Let this sink in. Chris Paul knew Rudy Gobert had coronavirus before anybody else did. No, seriously, he's the smartest NBA player.
And
one of
he's
the smartest
always
ever.
behind the scenes. Chris Paul is always behind the scenes.
How smart do you have to be to predict that a player has coronavirus before any of this was ever publicized? Like nobody was thinking this. They were thinking like, oh yeah, it's media hype. And then Chris came over and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna use some psychic powers and say, I think that Rudy, like, where's he at? I think that he might have coronavirus. I mean, he predicted that. He's a
Cr-
genius, man.
Ever since Chris Paul didn't get traded to the Lakers, I think he's just hated the NBA. Like I
Oh,
think
I mean, he
once
that trade would have been ridiculous.
once that got shut down, Chris Paul's been like, all right, I'll go to the Clippers and I'm just gonna hate everyone, and everyone's gonna hate me too.
The thing with Chris Paul is like, I mentioned earlier how players crowd around another
Mhm.
player when they get that
Mhm.
culture going. That was the major rub, I think, between the Clippers and why they didn't have a successful team, because I think that when Blake Griffin gets drafted and people start to build around Blake Griffin, but then you get a player like Chris Paul in, who has like this level of basketball professionalism and acumen that Blake Griffin frankly doesn't have. Then you get like people wanting to crowd around Chris Paul. You know what I mean? Then you get like that friction.
Mhm.
So I think that the benefit to OKC is that they don't have that conflict.
Mhm.
They don't have somebody they don't have people vying for their identity or what the identity of the team is. People know Chris Paul is going to perform in the playoffs. It's just going to happen.
And I honestly look at it. I think a hot take for me is Chris Paul is gonna be one of the greatest coaches of all time.
You think so, bro? That is a very hot take.
Because I can see that happening. I can totally just see with how smart he is getting to that after he
Yeah.
retires and doing something like, because look at Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's he was such a smart player, and it hasn't really panned out for the way he's wanted in his coaching career. I think Chris Paul is going to be one of those pieces. He gets under everyone's ass when they mess up. And he's
Yeah.
always on fire with those people. And I can totally see that benefiting him as a coach, because people are going to
Yeah.
see how smart he is. And I think that's going to benefit him. So I think the Thunder are going to win that. I truly do. I think the Thunder are going to win.
You could be
that.
right. I'm gonna take Rockets in 7, but who knows?
That's a good.
It'll be a good series though.
So the differences that we have are the Pacers versus the Heat. You have the Heat.
Yep.
I have the Pacers, and then I have the Thunder. You have the Rockets. So I think those are
Yep.
two, and then everything else is the same. I feel like that's just kind of like the actual.
What about the Nuggets? Nuggets and the Jazz.
Do you have the Jazz? No. Ours is different. I have the Nuggets winning it, but you just have them winning like right off the bat, like in the first 4 games. So that's what it is. That's just
all right.
Yeah. So that being said, I don't know if I'm losing you right now. I don't know if you're okay. There you are. You're back. Okay, good. Is there any other?
No, I'm good.
What else? Was there any other things you wanted to talk about or discuss or anything like that? Did I lose you? I might have lost you. We'll wait for you to come back.
I'm here. Right here.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right. Hopefully, just give it a second.
I have one question for you.
Okay.
And hopefully I don't cut out here.
No, you're good.
Who would you rather build a team around? Would you rather build a team around Damian Lillard or Luka Doncic?
Luka, 100%. And
Yeah?
I think age has a big how long do we have Dame in his prime? Do we have him for 3 more years? Do we have him for 8? That's got far-fetched, right? So
Right.
Luka is so young. I gotta go with Luka. That's actually an interesting question, because who would you rather build a team around, Luka or Trae Young?
Luka.
Yeah.
100%.
Just like
Who would you
like LeBron James or Luka?
He is literally the most talented player I've ever seen.
And
I really mean that.
He's the most coachable player too.
Mm,
I think that's a big thing too. He doesn't have this. He's a kid out there playing and having fun, and I think that just to me is you can't beat that with him. What is okay? I gotta know this. I gotta have a few basketball theme songs. So a song about basketball. What is one song that gets you hyped no matter what you're doing or getting ready? What's a song?
A song about basketball?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a good question. A song about basketball.
I have 2.
Okay, go ahead.
My first one is We're Playing Basketball.
Yeah, that's
and then the second one is the Chicago Bulls theme song.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was the first thing that went into my head.
That's gonna make me run through a wall. like that.
Yeah.
That just gets you pumped up.
Yeah, it really does. That song is actually great. That was in all the NBA 2Ks, and it's like a timeless song. I
It
think the
really,
once, I think the one song that probably I can think of in terms of this would be anything by Shaq when he was actually rapping, because those songs were hilarious,
How about
man.
John Wall? Remember that song, John Wall?
Yeah,
Dude.
true. John Wall,
Uh,
man. Oh, wait, I gotta tell you this, man. What's your opinion on John Wall and how he's gonna perform?
I like Bradley Beal more.
You're kidding. You were
I
joking.
I really like. I think Bradley Beal. If Bradley Beal was on a different team that didn't have John Wall on it, I think that we would put a different title on him. I
Yeah.
think Bradley Beal could actually carry a team. And I think that they're two great players, but I think they've been together for too long that they don't necessarily mesh the greatest together. The
Mhm.
Wizards are a great team, and I think they get a lot of bad luck between injury and everything. But I just think that I honestly think that if we saw Bradley Beal in a different light, that he could live up to that number 3 overall pick. And like he could just be that player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that if they trade one, I think they're going to trade John Wall over Bradley Beal. I think they would get rid of. I think the Wizards would get rid of John Wall over Bradley Beal.
You think John Wall's gonna be the same player when he comes back?
Not for the Wizards.
Not for the
I
Wizards.
think the Wizards are. I think the Wizards are tired of it in some sense. Like
Maybe.
I like it's
Maybe.
the same idea as like Joel or Ben Simmons. Who do you want to keep? Because the
Yeah.
Sixers need to change
True.
too, right? I think the Wizards have tried this for way too long. They've been on the cusp for way too long,
Yeah.
and every team has had such a rollover compared to they have. I mean, how long have they? I think it's been like 5 or 6 years that they've played to act more than actually. It's
Yeah. Of
probably like
course. Of
that
course.
they've
So
played
long
together,
time.
and to
Yeah.
not have anything out of it, like when are you going to give that up?
True enough. True enough. Yeah. I
So
don't know. I hope that John Wall comes back and he just
he's like a
is.
Paul George idea, just comes out
I
and
mean, I hope that he has somewhat of the resurgence because I really think that for whatever he went through, I mean, you don't want to see anybody, have that much just, family problems and also physical problems. I just want to see him come back strong.
he's such an electric player too. Like he
Yeah.
truly is. And I think
Yeah.
Washington is such a weird place to play too. I don't think that they
Yeah.
get the fandom that they should deserve, like that they deserve.
That,
So
that's true. That's
I think
true.
it's a low piece. Like when you look at small markets, I mean the Jazz, the Nuggets, the Mavericks, those are all small markets, and to me, it's just like they're a part of that, and they just don't have. I mean, Orlando's even a small market in my opinion
Yeah.
too, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just think they're in a small market, and if they won more, it would make sense. But I just don't think it's not making any sense right now.
Good take. Hot
Yeah.
take.
Sure. All right. So this is my 11th podcast. All right. This is number
Yeah.
11.
All right.
When you think of number 11, who's the first player to come to mind?
Yao Ming. 100%.
Really?
Yao
Really?
Ming. Yeah.
All
One of my
right.
favorite players growing up, man. Yao
Okay.
Ming. For
Mine's
sure.
Trae Young.
Yeah.
And then Enes Kanter, I think, is someone
Cantor.
that, no one thinks about and is kind of gone. Any other 11s you can think of in any sport across the world?
11.
So I know.
Kyrie was number 11
Okay.
for the Celtics.
Okay. Yeah, that's
And
why
that comes to mind for sure.
I think of Brett Gardner in the MLB. He plays for the Yankees, longtime Yankee. He's number 11. Phil Simms, a quarterback back in the Giants, he was a number 11. So there's some number 11 isn't really a notable number. So I just but right now, I mean, Yao Ming, that's a good one. I did not actually think of Yao Ming.
Man, he was something else. I always say
Imagine
that
if
Yao
his
Ming,
knees didn't go out.
if he didn't get hurt, he would have been top 5 center of all time.
He would have been one of the best players of all time. I mean,
he's the one example of saying like, oh man, this person's so big and tall and they can't shoot.
Yeah.
Yao Ming shot like 90% from the free throw line for his whole career.
I mean, and
like it's impossible for me to argue.
And it's just incredible. If Bol had his width like of Yao Ming, like Bol would be unstoppable. Shooting like his dad and everything, he truly would be.
True. Yeah, number 11, Yao Ming's first thing that comes to mind for sure.
Anything else that you have? Final statement, final comment?
Final comment. I'm just excited for the playoffs. I hope you are. I really love this podcast, by the way. The whole idea and everything has been great. And
I appreciate
thanks for having me on for sure.
Thank you so much. Anytime you want to stop on by, we're going to do this. We got to do this again. This is too much fun. I think we've been talking for like 2 hours. Like this is just
probably.
This
I
is
don't
so
even know
much
when we
fun.
started.
Like,
yeah, 100%.
So it's been amazing. I can't wait to continue doing this. I love talking any sport really, and you know more about basketball than I do. I'm gonna be that hot take guy just because like you are more knowledgeable, and I think with us together we can make it work and do some really great things.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Chandler.
Of course. Sure. Other than that, that's it for episode 11. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you again to Dylan. I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you so much for listening to episode 11 of Thinking Outside the Pylons. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review. It means so much. And have a good night, guys. Bye.